Prue Leith has made an emotional plea to young women. She said when it comes to having babies, don't leave it too late. Opening up about her daughter's fertility battle after she suffered with breast cancer, the Bake Off judge said, don't put it off because you just never know what's around the corner. I mean, you were always very much, Jane, weren't you? You'd like, enjoy yourselves, girls, enjoy your 20s, maybe start thinking about it in your 30s. But
yes.
You are softening.
I've done a bit of a...
Handbrake turn?
Handbrake turn. Well, my oldest daughter, Ellie, if you're looking, Ellie, switch off. She's 27 now. And so I've always said to her, do not even think about having babies till you're 30. Your 20s is your decade for being selfish, having fun, blah, blah, blah. So now she's, you know, got a long-term boyfriend, and now I'm going, maybe now is the time to have a baby and give me a grandchild. And she just goes, back off.
I never thought I'd hear you say that.
I know. She said, no, you've spent your whole life telling me not to even think about it until I'm in my 30s. And I'm going, well, I've had a rethink. So there you go.
What do you think, though, Julie? What do you think? Would you...
You know what?
You had your... How old were you when you had your...
I was 25 when I had my first daughter, my first child, my daughter. But I don't know, I think, for me, my parents had me quite late. So my mum was like 48.
Wow.
48, yeah, my dad was 53. They said the TV weren't working that night, so they had to entertain themselves somehow, right? But it made me, growing up, you know, I had that older parent. People say, is that your nan? I know it's my mum. So it always made me feel like I wanted to have my children at a younger age, because obviously I became a child carer and so on. And I had them at 25, and I was happy with the age, because I feel like they're now coming up to teenagers. I'm getting a bit of my life back. So I would advise my child to wait a little, just a little bit more older. The other day, my daughter said to me, Mum, I'm going to be married in 20 by the time I'm 24, like married and have children by the time I'm 24. And I was, like, shocked, because I felt like, no, slow down, live, you know, your best life and then have them after. Not saying that having children is not your best life. I just wanted her to experience more than what I have.
Yeah.
It's like the biological versus the psychological in a way, because, look, this study by the New Scientist, they claimed if you want a big family, you should start trying for a baby at the age of 23.
Wow.
That is the optimum time for women. So, Gloria, you were in at the right time there.
Well, the thing is, I had Karen when I was 21, because Christine will identify with some of this from her mum's stories, because back in the day, if you weren't really sort of engaged and ready to get married when you were like 19, 20, you thought you were on the shelf. Boy, how things have changed. But I preface all of this by saying that I think having children is the best thing you ever do in your entire life. And so whether you have them when you're 21, when you've got the energy and when biologically that's the best time to have them, or whether you build your career as Jane did for her 10 years or fling, but still, of course, going strong, there are really bonuses at any stage. So when Karen said to me when she had one baby, Charlie, when I want to have another baby, when would I have it with my career? And I went, Karen, have your baby, because you always cope and there's always a way. And when I changed direction from Northern Ireland, I mean, I was only 42 when I left Northern Ireland, went to work in BBC in London, which was a big change for me. But at that point, I had 2 children at university in England, and I still had a 10-year-old. And so it works sort of both ways. There are arguments for both. But I do think that these days, like Patricia Hodgson, I can tell you quickly, Patricia had her 2 boys whom she treasures and adores. But she had them really, I think, in her very late 40s. And I remember in an interview, she said quite openly, when I went to the school gate, she said, I did feel like the grandmother because I had nothing in common with these young girls. And so she said, in a way, I wish I had been able to have them when I was younger. So there are all kinds of elements, but just do it. It's the best thing, if you can ever do, in my opinion.
Yeah. It's true, my mum and dad were married at 1921. Wow. But my mum, and as you see, sort of back in the day, everyone had children younger anyway, but my mum and dad, they were married for 7 years, I think it was, before I came along, which was relatively unheard of back then. And that was my mum's way of just sort of living their life a little bit before they had children. But she even felt like a geriatric mother at 28, I think she was then when she had me. Even at that stage, because everyone was having their children in their early 20s. But we have chosen as women, and we've had the privilege to be able to do so, to say, actually, I'm not quite ready ready to do it yet, and we're going to go on. And to be fair, I think that works for a lot of people. It's worked for me. I don't think I could have ever had a child in my 20s. I just wasn't ready for it myself.
You were having fun.
I was having fun.
Sometimes at 23, when I look back when I was 23, I don't even think I knew who I was, really. What I really liked, what my passions was. You just was kind of flowing what was going on and who your friends was. You changed so much. So it's about the emotional maturity as well. But like my mum said to me when I told her I was pregnant, she was just like, have your baby. And that was the most secure feeling, you know, and thing that I could hear.
And as you say, it's when you're lucky, isn't it, that you can delay it and it still happens. Because, of course, I think Prue Leith's argument, going back to the original thing, is that not everybody, you know, suddenly by the time they realise that they go, right, I'm ready to have children now, something is wrong and it doesn't happen.
Yeah. As you say, though, Gloria, I mean, if it does happen, it's a wonderful thing. And you do somehow manage most of the time, don't you? Even if it's a shock.
Somehow or other you get by. But what I do want to re-endorse is the fact that if you have your children young, and you still have another life. I mean, Steve and I have now been married, my second marriage, of course, for 22, 23 years or something. But you're like teenagers again, because you've had your children young, they've built their lives, they're having their children, and hey, we're up for fun, despite the age. So Trevor McDonald, going back to Trevor.
That, I think, Gloria.
Low. I need to take
Gloria Honeyford.